So good morning again, guys. Thank you for joining this week's Weekly Wave. A lot of the information that we're going to go over this week are very similar to what we've talked about in previous weeks. So I just want to start off by blankly addressing our phone calls, voicemails, and emails. Right now, we are still experiencing, understandably so, a high number of phone calls, emails, and voicemails. We've been having an unusual amount of errors out of our control that we're trying to tackle as quickly as we can. So with that, if you've emailed us between September 30th and October 7th, right now, if you've sent that email and you can see it in your sent box, please just be patient with us. We will respond to you either through email or through phone, but just so that we can properly give the appropriate amount of attention to each, email, voicemail, whatever it is that we're getting. We're just asking that if you've emailed during that window that's on your screen, please do not try and just create another email about the same subject line. That is going to bog down our inbox just a little bit. You will get a response one way or another, either just us saying, hey, it looks like between the time that you emailed and when we're actually giving you a response, the error self-corrected, or we'll reach out and say, hey, there's still an outstanding issue with something related to your email. We're looking into it. We'll respond back to you when we physically can see that it has been corrected. So like I said, again, all voicemails and emails are being answered, and they're right now being answered in the order that they're being received. We're moving as quickly as we can through our emails. There are a couple of days there where we got way more than we could have answered on any given day. So again, just bear with us right now. We've got a extremely high number of voicemails, emails, and calls that we're getting. So just bear with us. We are answering your voicemails, calls, whatever it is, kind of around the clock. We do have a new staff member, Sydney Boyd, who is going to be helping us out with those phone calls. So as you're calling, you might hear a new voice you haven't heard before. So just bear with us during this time. We've got a lot going on, and we're trying to make sure that everything is going as smoothly as possible. So I know it's not going as smoothly as it has in past years, but we are working as hard as we can to correct that problem for you. So moving kind of along, a lot of the voicemails or really calls that we're getting right now as well are related to Wave logins. And right now, there's still a blurb when you go to click on the Wave on single sign-on, but we're still asking that you do email the service desk at omes.ok.gov with any issues being able to log in. OMES does maintain all of the single sign-on credentials. And so although our office may be able to help in some cases, OMES is going to be your best bet. They have full-blown access to everything in order to help you get logged into the Wave. So make sure that you're putting in those service requests. Email is the best way to get this kind of corrected. The phone technicians, if you're calling, do have limited access. So what will happen is most likely, unless you get lucky, they'll just create a ticket number for you, and you'll get that email in your inbox very shortly after you get off of the phone with that technician. So that's why we're saying emailing is going to be your best bet, because when you email the service desk, you will get a auto reply email with a service desk ticket number that you can reference if you ever do need to call them back. Say your ticket's closed and you still aren't able to log into the Wave, having that ticket number will allow them to pull up the history of what happened, any contacts that OMES did to you or vice versa. They all get logged, and so they'll make sure to correct any outstanding problems if there are any. So again, emailing the service desk for any Wave logins, that goes for new and existing staff members. Just contact the service desk and they will get you squared away. They'll continue to contact you until they know that you have been logged in to the Wave successfully. And with that, I'm going to pass this along to Eric to talk about the PEBT cards that we have also been getting some questions about.
Okay, so we're going to talk about PEBT. I heard what the superintendent said yesterday on the all staff call or all district call. Your superintendents probably heard what I heard, which was, for all questions about PEBT, please call and email me. No, don't do that. That's not what we were talking about. If we have questions, if districts have questions about data issues, we are the people to get a hold of. If you guys are unsure what you're sending to us through your student information system, or if you are unsure if you're sending it correctly so these students get properly sent to DHS, those are the phone calls I love to hear. I'd love to hear from you guys, but please don't do what other districts have done and put my number and email out publicly for parents to call me. We can't help parents. We have no control over what DHS can do. So if it's a parent, they need to call the number that's on the screen here, Department of Human Services, the DHS, 522-5050. If it's you guys, we were more than welcome your phone calls and to help you to make sure that these students get properly coded so that they can get over to DHS and get their PEBT benefits if they're eligible. Unfortunately, for the benefits from March to May, they're exhausted. It's over. There's no more money for that. We are now moving on to the fall. So, and there's quite a lot of difference for that. Quite a lot of different requirements for that. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. But it's strict. So they have to be virtual for like 5 days in a row, or out of a traditional classroom for 5 days in a row, and also qualify for CEP or free or reduced. Those are the requirements. So I want to pass it back to Lakeisha to continue on. It looks like we've got some questions about lunch eligibility, but we'll move forward and then we'll come back to the questions.
So for those of you who are doing your RSA or Reading Sufficiency Act report, there is an issue related to saving that is still being looked into. We should have, I'm going to get a specific update about that later on today. So be on the lookout for that note on the Wave homepage to be updated. Speaking of issues, with our data validation wizard, there are two, well, really one outstanding issue that is not posted on the Wave's homepage at the moment in time. And that is related to staff personal errors. And more specifically, if you're getting an error saying name does not match. Right now, if you click on the error explanation, it's very, very vague. There's no explanation for you. Right now, that error is a bogus error. So we are looking into the cause of why those are popping up all of a sudden. For most of the districts who have reached out to us about this particular issue, the teacher certification number that has been entered into the student information system is perfectly fine. That matches what we have in our credentialing system as well. So this error is just a bogus error. It's not going to cause you any problems with any reports that are open at this moment in time. So while we get that figured out, just not necessarily ignore those errors, but just kind of move on if that is something that's holding you up from moving on to others. And the other, not necessarily issue, but we're just getting a lot of questions about this because we're starting to get new data from student information systems that we haven't in the past. So if you're still getting those attendance code errors, and that is related to a present code, there are specific pieces of information that we're expecting to get. The only attendance code that we are expecting to come across with a attendance type of excused is for those distance learning present days. Any other present code that we're getting, we are expecting to see a not applicable for your attendance type. So if you're still getting those errors, it's most likely related to data being sent to the way that has never been sent before. And so we're just validating to make sure that it's meeting our business rules. So if you click on the error explanation, it'll give you a pretty rough understanding of what's going on. We are still hopefully going to be rolling out some clear error messages here not very soon, but in the next 6 months or so, before the end of the school year, definitely. So it helps you all out when it comes to end-of-year reporting. A lot of their messages are very vague right now. So like we said in previous wave calls, once we are able to roll those out, and we will give you a heads up about that. Those error messages that you're seeing and the error explanations should be light years better than what they have been in the past. And so with that, let's move into STNs. Okay, so there are a couple of different issues right now that we're also working through with STN numbers. One of them is that school districts have been reaching out to us in regards to not seeing STNs in their student information system, or they're not seeing students who are newly enrolled popping up in the STN wizard as they would expect. Those two issues are related to each other. And so we're, again, working on figuring out what's causing that as quickly as we can. So again, like everything else, please just bear with us. We do understand the extreme time crunch that we're under. This is the worst time in the school year for these problems to be popping up for you. So again, we will put a note on the WAVE homepage about all of the things that I've mentioned here, if it's not already on there, just so you have an idea of what the timeline is, so you can give your administration staff an update as well, as I'm sure they're asking. So again, if you're not seeing STNs in your student information system, say after you resolve them from the STN wizard, or you're not seeing your newly enrolled students popping up in the STN wizard and they're not in your student information system, they're not getting an STN. Those two issues are related. We're looking into it as I talk. So hopefully we'll have a more specific update or even a resolution by this afternoon, and we'll let you all know what's going on there. So we have seen some of those emails coming across. We are very, very aware of you all not getting those STNs like you should. All right, so moving on to WAVE reports. I've said this a couple weeks in a row. FQSR is still open and is still due November 30th, 2020. Guidance is still available to you all under documents and guidance on the SDE website, or if you're in the WAVE under the general instructions on each tab that you might be on. Right now, again, since we're getting a high number of phone calls, you can also reach out to our state aid office, and their email address is on the screen. They've been helping us out with some of the questions related to, say, calendars or anything like that. So if you do have just general questions, you can also include the state aid office, and they will get back to you much quicker than we would be able to. So October 1, the October 1 report, we'll update that title header, is currently open. It's still going to be due on October 31st. Accreditation report is still expected to be completed by October 15th. So if you're still having problems that you haven't already let us know about, please let us know about those issues. If you're having problems with lunch statuses, like some of you are, and you put that in the chat, and that misspelling is bad there, but do reach out to us about any problems that you're having with lunch statuses. There was a vendor-specific issue that, to our understanding, has been corrected. So if you are a district that is using that particular student information system, I know contact has been going back and forth in their vendor-specific support group. But if you have not applied, say, that update to correct the lunch status errors that you may be getting, please do that. It seems to be correcting the problem. So if you're still seeing a high number of lunchroom statuses, and it's when you go to look at what's being sent to the state, and you're seeing, say, the letter CE for your students free and reduced status, that is not expected. There are a few lunch statuses that Morningstar has put in the chat that we do expect to get for a particular student. So just keep an eye out on that. If you're having any other issues unrelated to that, do let us know. There is a potential issue, and I do believe it is more than likely an issue related to the direct certification report I'm seeing in the chat here. So we will look into that as well. It's more than likely related to another issue that I didn't mention, and I should have mentioned in the previous slide here about errors clearing out. I've seen a couple of emails from districts saying that they're not seeing errors clearing out as they should. So we do need to look into that. We do have a request schedule that is available on our website. It will break down to you in plain English exactly what we're collecting from you all. It's not going to say, hey, we're collecting a calendar date information from your student information system. That doesn't mean anything to, or it potentially could not mean something to everybody. So we wanted to make sure that we're using common terms like on, say, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, we are collecting student enrollments and student demographic information and things like that. So if you go onto our website, at the very bottom of our page under Other, you can click this PDF to get our request schedule, and you can share that with whomever you need to. Some of the questions related to why errors aren't clearing out are related to our request schedule. Unless your student information system is set up to send us data, and by data I mean adds, changes, and deletes 24 hours a day as you're making those changes, then you are dependent on our request schedule, and we do not request everything that we are requiring from you all on a daily basis. Generally speaking, on a daily basis, we're generally speaking only requesting, say, student enrollments, student demographics, some school-specific information, and some calendar information as well. So do look over that request schedule PDF if you haven't seen it before, just so you can get an idea of what's going on. But again, there are a couple of different moving parts with our validations that we're trying to improve upon. Another thing that we're seeing are errors that, say, have a error date back in August. What's happening there, what we're seeing is we're being sent brand new records instead of the existing record being updated, changed, or that's the same word, updated or deleted. And those are all automatic things that your student information system usually does. So if you are still seeing a high number of those errors, they most likely are not going to clear out on their own until we can specifically go in and take a look at what we're working with. But so again, if you're just seeing those errors and you do want them cleared out, just send us an email about that and we'll clear them out for you. They usually don't come back when we re-request for that information. So those are just, again, errors that had new records created instead of being, deleted or changed. So with that, I'm going to stop talking. Our email address is on your screen. Again, just bear with us. We will get back to you. And any documents and guides that we have kind of talked about, they're all here. I do know that right now the website is not updated with the latest slides from last week, but the video has been uploaded to YouTube, and here is that chat, that link in the chat. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording.